In this video, you'll learn the second secret, which I believe is critical to avoiding a relapse. You'll discover that getting rid of your toxic friends is crucial if you want to avoid a relapse, along with why it is so important. I will share my experience with getting rid of my toxic friends. Based upon that information, you'll be able to figure out how it works for you. So lean in and listen carefully because this episode could have a significant impact on how you can make it to a year and much closer to living a kick-ass sober life. This YouTube video is like an AA meeting. Most people are sober, thinking about getting sober. They should be sober. So if you hear something that resonates with you, please share in the comments section. And what you share might resonate with someone else and possibly save them from a relapse or even save their life. Every review counts, so please don't be shy and please share. So you must get rid of your toxic friends if you want a shot at making it to a year. You must create distance from them. Old friends promoted your old way of living. And as Ben Hardy says, willpower doesn't work. Signs of a toxic relationship are if they're not actively supporting your recovery, they start to control your life or your level of sobriety. And for example, I had a girlfriend at one point, her name was Michelle, and she was not in recovery. And she was, I mean, for the most part, she was kind of supportive of my recovery. However, when I started really, I was at a point where I felt like I really needed to reconnect and get back to meetings and do more service work and chair meetings and just kind of get a little more involved with my, AA, that's my foundation. And whenever I'm feeling a little sideways, a little spun out, I always go back to AA, and that really helps me stay grounded, stay centered, and stay on my path to recovery. And Michelle thought I went to too many meetings. And so that wasn't supportive of my recovery. So eventually that didn't work for me. It caused problems. So that's a sign. Also, if they deliberately attempt to keep you away from your family or your new friends that are supporting your new way of life. So if you've got some friends, or they're so-called friends, right? Your friends aren't going to like the new you. I mean, they're just not. They're not. They like the old you. They like the old you. They want the person that acts in the way that you acted before you got clean and sober. I mean, AA is a program for living. Being in recovery, we learn how to live. I learned how to live. I learned how to live an honest life. I learned how to be a good man. I learned how to have good character. I learned how to live according to my values. And you attract what you are. So I attracted a different type of person before getting clean and sober and before getting on my path to recovery. And I would say more likely than not, you're the same way. You're going to attract people that are that like the old you. And many people, they think they're going to get clean and sober just to stop drinking and to stop doing drugs. The result is really that's AA and recovery. It teaches you how to live. And so you can't just stop drinking and doing drugs without changing the way that you live your life. That's been my experience anyways. So if you've got people that in your life, they're not going to like it that you're going to meetings. They're not going to like your new friends. They're not going to like your new hobbies, your new interests, and the new things that you do with your life, most likely anyways. So that's a sign. Another thing to look at is if they point out that you're changing and they don't like the new you. They don't like the new clean and sober you. People, my old friends, they didn't like the clean and sober Tim because now I'm ethical. I'm living according to my values. I don't lie, cheat, steal. I'm an honest person. I'm not going to do shady things. And I used to do shady things. And the friends that I hung out with did shady things. So if you were hanging out with people that were doing shady things, then, and that's, I mean, it can be, hey, and anything from just your friends that you spend every day with to people that you're in business with also. So any of that. And so if they're taking jabs at you, and the other thing that I've learned in recovery this is one of the 4 agreements. What people think of me is none of my business. What people think of me is none of my business. Doesn't matter. Like, I used to be so concerned about what other people would think. So I'd make decisions, and that's called people pleasing, and that's codependency. And many people, I mean, Ken Richardson, who's the founder of Coda, he says that all addiction stems from codependency. So I don't know if I agree. I don't necessarily agree with that. However, pretty much most of the people I know that are active in their addiction they have some level of codependency. And even people that are clean and sober, everybody has some level of codependency. It's just typically a lot deeper and a lot worse when someone is in recovery or before they get into recovery anyways. So you want to, so new hobbies, new interests, new habits. Those are the things that you want to start focusing your time on and your energy on. You want to focus on living your best life. I've started to focus on living my best life. So what I started doing, so first off, I went to 1 or 2 meetings a day. So my whole life, I immersed myself into recovery. My first couple years, AA, the 12-step program, that was my foundation, and that was what worked for me at that time. And that was a good path. And I've seen that be a good path for many people. And so I would say one of the things, there's a guy named Bo Eason. He talks about being a professional versus being an amateur. And what I know is that people that act like a professional when it comes to recovery, and that means doing all the things, going above and beyond. So that's 1 or 2 meetings a day. You're in gratitude. You're doing a gratitude list. You're staying connected to people that are in recovery, people that support your recovery. You're holding boundaries, and you're getting rid of your toxic friends. You're following suggestions. You're creating new hobbies and new interests. Those are the things that help me, and those are the things that can help you too. And those are things that I've seen help many, many people that are in recovery, acting like a professional. And that means doing all of the things. It doesn't mean going to 1 meeting a week and showing up late and leaving early. That's being an amateur. Amateurs don't stay sober when it comes to working a program of recovery. And typically my experience is when people relapse, it's like, of course he relapsed. Of course she relapsed. The people that stay clean and sober, of course he stayed sober. Of course he's still around. You can see it in their actions. I can see it in their actions. It's never a surprise when someone relapses. It's never a surprise when someone is still sober, because they're doing all of the things. And it's a slippery slope when you're out living your old life, hanging out with your old toxic friends. So new habits, new habits, new hobbies, new interests. So for me, I started doing yoga. I started doing CrossFit. Eventually I started doing Ironman, so triathlons. I was hiking, and I was doing a lot of things that I would say promoted my wellness, promoted my health. I started eating healthy. I actually had a nicotine habit that I quit. I quit my nicotine habit after, I don't know, I had a nicotine habit for probably 15 years before I got sober. And I quit that. I got rid of it. And because I wanted to focus on a different lifestyle. And not to say that you can't live a healthy lifestyle while still smoking, but it's not for me. I'm grateful that I don't smoke and that I don't have a nicotine habit today. So the new hobbies and the new interests, and what that does also is it means that I'm connected to other people that are focused on living their best life, living your best life, living my best life. That's what has helped me. So the other thing is doing a geographic. So it's possible. So your old friends, your toxic friends, the people that promoted your way of living, they're in wherever you're living now or wherever you were living. That's where they're at. And the path of least resistance is always to go back to doing what you were doing. And if you're around, if you're in your old environment, then it might potentially make it harder. So I see people do a geographic, and in the short term, a geographic, in my opinion, is a great idea. It's a great idea because you got to build that foundation. So wherever it is you live, whether you live in California or Southern California or Northern California, or if you live in Arizona, or if you live on the East Coast, coming to Arizona for your treatment and for your outpatient treatment and for your sober living for 3 to 6 months, at least 3 months to a year even, is a good idea. I've seen it. You're going to increase your chances of staying clean and sober if you can put yourself in an environment that's easier to stay clean and sober. That's been my experience anyways. And the odds of staying sober increase by about 50% for anyone that stays in sober living, a high quality sober living, for at least 90 days. So doing the geographic, going to inpatient treatment somewhere, doing outpatient treatment, living in a sober living, those are all the things that can help you on your path to recovery. And I did a video called 9 Mistakes to Avoid when looking for a sober living home, or when choosing a sober living home. So you can Google that if you want to see a video. And if you're looking for a sober living home, and whether you want to come to Camelback Recovery in Arizona or somewhere else, it doesn't really matter. That video can help you find a high quality sober living home. Another tip is don't negotiate with your toxic friends. So trying to justify why you're doing what you're doing, trying to get them to be on board. I wouldn't do it. I would stay away from that, because that's not going to work. There's no need to feel guilty. If you're drawing boundaries, if you know that your old friends, people that you spent time with, if they're not conducive to your recovery, remember, this is your life. Your life is on the line. So no need to feel guilty. You're going to develop new relationships with different people. You're going to attract different people. Your relationships will be meaningful and have more depth. And for me personally, before I got clean and sober, all of my relationships were on the surface. There was no like depth to any of them. And literally, I mean, it's like I didn't know how to be vulnerable. I didn't know how to connect. I didn't know what intimacy was. I used to think that intimacy was sexual intimacy, like having sex, which sexual intimacy is a type of intimacy. But intimacy, you can have an intimate relationship with anybody, male, female, and it's not sexual. It's just, there's depth to the relationship. And I learned how to connect below the surface. Once I got clean and sober, I learned how to be vulnerable. I learned how to be honest. I learned how to do the next right thing. I learned how to clear away the wreckage of my past. I learned how to live according to my values. And it just ended up being a beautiful thing. My life is amazing, is so amazing today. And you'll hear it if you're talking to anybody that's in long-term recovery and actually work in a program of recovery. So there are people out there that are clean and sober and they're white knuckling it. So there are people out there that are salty as hell, and you might not want what they have. Not everybody is gonna have what you want. And so continuing to search for those people that have what you want, so you can surround yourself with people that you want to be like, that's gonna be the thing that's gonna save you. That's gonna be the thing that's gonna help you. And for me, like I love the people that I attract today. And I love the people that I surround myself with. As Jim Rohn says, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So it's important to be very selective in who you spend your time with. And for me, like even today, I mean, here I am. I'm over 10 years. I'm 11 years sober at the time of this recording, and I've got some friends that don't necessarily have what I want, and sometimes it's a struggle, and sometimes I end up hanging out with them anyways. And then I'm scratching my head going, man, why am I spending time with this person? So I've been sober long enough. For the most part, I'm making better decisions, and I do surround myself with people I want to be like. But hey, I don't beat myself up if I end up in the wrong company occasionally. And what happens is that I end up seeing myself in other people. I end up seeing behaviors that remind me like that's not what I want. I'm so glad that's not me. That's not what I want my life to look like. So here's a quick review about the insights you and I both rediscovered in this video. Getting rid of your toxic friends is crucial if you want to avoid a slip. And then I went over why it is so important, and I shared my experience with getting rid of my toxic friends. Based upon that information, you'll be able to figure out how it works for you. And remember, these insights will only work for you if you work them. So please make sure you apply what you've learned in this video. And if you do, you'll be on your way to living a kick-ass sober life. And I think you'll agree that's exciting to think about. Before we end this video, I want you to type in your biggest takeaway or aha moment you experienced during this episode in the comment section. So go ahead, declare your one big takeaway in the comment section. It'll take 60 seconds out of your day, but what you declare could provide you with a lifetime of happiness and fulfillment. And that does it. That does it for me. That does it for this video. I'm Tim Westbrook, and I hope that our paths cross again in the next video. If you found this video to be of value, be sure to like it, subscribe to our channel if you want to see more videos, leave a comment if you have a question, if you've got something to say. Camelback Recovery provides treatment services for people struggling with mental health, mental illness, addiction, alcoholism. So if you or someone you know is struggling, be sure to reach out to us. You can go to our website, camelbackrecovery.com, or our information is in the comment section below. And we provide everything from detox, inpatient, outpatient treatment, sober living, recovery coaching, sober companion services. So either we'll be able to help you or we'll be able to refer you to people or treatment centers that might be a better fit. So I will see you in the next video.